Now, let's get into this. It's your boy Carcino here saying, whoo, it's time for some hip hop. Real hip hop. Now, back in 1988, 87, Don't Believe the Hype was not only a song by Public Enemy that was famous, it led to one of the biggest albums of all time. It Take a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back was like such a massive like explosion onto the scene. It paralyzed a lot of people's thinking. They were like, man, this album here is like nothing we've heard before. Chuck D's lyrics were like lasers, piercing your brain. Perfection. Polar opposite, Flavor Flav with big clocks and crazy hats. And while you're getting a political message, you're getting a buffoon on the other side. Yeah, boy! And I'm like, what the heck is this? And then you got soldiers behind them, militant security of the first world. I'm like, man, this was amazing. Do people realize what Public Enemy was? It was like a perfect combination that you never knew existed. Like a perfect concoction of personalities that were completely opposite, but yet a common goal, which represents the world, right? Everybody has difference of thoughts, opinions, but the overall goal can be the same. Right? Now, I might listen to rock and hip hop and alternative music. I like the movie The Last Dragon, but I want the Pistons to win the NBA championship. And the guy next to me, he might like heavy metal and jazz and he watches Top Gun. It's his favorite movie of all time. And he wants the Pistons to win a championship. So, like saying, it's the same goal, just different methods of going to the same thing. It's a compository of everybody, just different, but with the same goal in mind. And that was Public Enemy. Now, back in those days, there was no YouTube. Everybody, basically, cable was God. And if you can get to the video channels and watch the videos and all these shows on MTV or whatever channel you had with Ralph McDaniels or anybody who was putting out music videos were God. And they can produce slogans, catchy things like "Don't believe the hype." That became a slogan that was on buttons. Everybody used to put button on their clothes and jacket. And "Don't believe the hype" t-shirts were made and people were selling them in the streets for $5. Don't believe the hype. Buy your Don't Believe the Hype shirt. So everybody was, don't believe the hype. That was the new slang. Everywhere you go. Oh, don't believe the hype. That people who didn't listen to rap ever, who never listened to It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, love the song Don't Believe the Hype. People who didn't listen to rap. So they had no idea who Public Enemy was. Besides, Don't Believe the Hype. That was a commercial success. They don't realize they had opened Pandora's door. Had they listened to any other song on that radio, on that album, they would have been mind blown. And that's what happened. They gave a whole bunch of attention to a group they had no intentions. They didn't know what they were doing. And Public Enemy was so over. The record company was making so much money. They were like, okay, well, this happened. It's over, all right? What do we do now? Where do we go from here? Because this is rocking. It's working. Then the impossible happened. They doubled down and became even more massive. They put out a song right before the release of their new album, Fear of a Black Planet. For the Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing. The theme of the movie was based off of a song called Fight the Power. So Fight the Power comes out. It's massive. It's everywhere. And I mean, the song of 1989. 1989, the number, another summer. Down on the funky drummer. So, Fight the Power comes through and it's crushing everything. Everything in sight. And everybody's wearing black leather, African bandana patches, and this Africa thing. Everybody was red, black, and green. Cross colors come out. They are rocking red, black, and green, everything. Everything was Mother Africa. So this is a history lesson for those who don't understand what it was like during that time. Now, with the success of this record is the biggest album and still to this day the biggest record in hip-hop history. Because not only did this record have people marching in other areas of the world, they didn't even know what the hell they were marching for. They were just in the streets marching. Go, 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 go. Fight the Power had awakened a sleeping giant. And that sleeping giant was the ADL. The ADL said, oh no, not this group. This group is a front, and we got to stop this right in its tracks. Have you heard some of these songs? How we let this group get through the cracks? Fight the power. Now you got people talking about fighting the power, the establishment. We don't want people fighting the power. They want people in a simulation. So this is telling people to think and speak up and be vocal. Fight the power means violence. So they have to spin the narrative. Then they had Professor Griff. And he was the head of the security of the first world. And they didn't know what his title and what his duty is there. So to paint them as a violent group, they had Dave Mills, a guy who was working with the Washington Times. He wanted to go get some quotations from a UK magazine in which they were asked questions about the Arab-Israeli conflict back in 1989. And then they said that Professor Griff said the Jewish people are responsible for the majority of the wickedness of the world. Now, this is definitely a shock to the nation. Chuck D had expressed an apology on his behalf, and that was in the 1989 in June. Now, Chuck D had announced Griff's dismissal from the group at this press conference. June 28th, after a week, A statement by Russell Simmons, who got involved, came through, and Russ decided to do something different because he had his Rush artist management going on. Russell's, man, look, man, Public Enemy, man, no, you can't break up. You can't just say you firing somebody and they broke up. Griff just got to do something else, man. We get Griff another job, give him another job title. But yeah, he can't be doing interviews, man. We can't have Griff doing interviews. So after this, Rush management said that Chuck D had to disband Public Enemy for a little bit. So by August the 10th, Chuck D wasn't with it and said, I did not disband the group. Griff is going to be rehired as another position. He's going to be a Supreme Allied Chief Community Relations person, not associating with the group. Now, Griff was like, I don't think I even said what they saying I said, but I apologize if I did say those remarks. Several people within Public Enemy expressed their concern about Chuck D's leadership abilities as a spokesperson, I guess, for the people. Now, all of this stuff is going on saying, I don't know if Chuck is the guy for this. He doesn't seem on board. He seems too commercial. He likes the success. Now, even though Professor Griff believes his words was taken out of context and was twisted, Ice-T, who did the song This One's For Me, the Iceberg Freedom of Speech, Just Watch What You Say, he was pointing out the fact that Public Enemy, during their success, was defending Professor Griff. During the controversy, nobody was there speaking out but for Griff but him. They will forever be put on the list, as Fear of a Black Planet is probably better, 10 times better than their previous album, It Takes a Million. They took more risks on that album than anything I've ever heard, probably ever released, with one of the greatest album covers there is. This was an awakening, and the ADL had to get involved heavily in hip hop and tried to control it as much as they could because they seen the power one hip hop song had. The politicians had to start coming in right away. And this is what brought in the Dan Quells and all the other political candidates who said, we could use this fear of this group to market and run. Off the strength of Public Enemy, Jesse Jackson was able to run for White House for a second time. This time backed by Donald Trump and other people who really had money. He was better prepared, better banked, and almost won. He almost became the final candidate to run for president of the United States. Hell of a run, hell of a campaign. And it was all based on the movement that was generated by hip hop and Public Enemy, where it takes a nation of millions. So after this run by Jesse Jackson, and here comes Public Enemy song, Fight the Power. Then it was his association with Louis Farrakhan, Chuck D. They did not like that at all. That in this popular song that he's saying, Farrakhan's a prophet that I think you need to listen to. That and the lyrics, and that just drew them up the wall that this is being promoted throughout the records. It's causing a lot of energy to go in a different direction. And Chuck, who had to wait till everything blow over. And by the time it blew over, the group was starting to lose its traction. By 1991, they came out with The Apocalypse, The Enemy Strikes Back, which was one of their best albums too, that was slept on. But a lot of people noticed it was just not the same. The production was a little different, had more of a jazz feel to it. But some of the songs that, like Night Train, that I liked, uh, Lost at Birth, Intro to kick it off. And when you start putting in all of these different analogies of and things into it, as far as by the time I get to Arizona wouldn't recognize Dr. Martin Luther King birthday as a holiday. They were the only state to really fight against having a day off work. And that's what people were like, man, you must really be a racist person to not want a day off work. A paid day off work? What's wrong with you? So Shut 'Em Down came in, and a song came in that didn't really fit with a lot of people. And that was a remix of Bring the Noise with Anthrax, which, you know, a lot of people were like, we don't like that at all. But it was very successful for them as it led to their release date. When they came out and led with that song on the album, and everybody was, why is this happening? So that song was made to clean up a lot of the anti-Semitism and saying that they were that way. So letting Anthrax get on the Bring the Noise song was, yeah, that happened. Then came Can't Trust It. The music video was powerful. This was supposed to be the lead single for the album, and really was, as the Bring the Noise was to try to calm the noise. And Can't Trust It was more Public Enemy style. You saw a black man in a hanging. You saw what happened on the slave plantation. It was incredible. Then came Shut 'Em Down. Then Night Train was the last single to come from that album, which was basically remixed, more dance party sound, because everything was starting to turn into dance. MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice came into play, so they were turning the tide with this whole dance rap. So that led to the beginning of the end. But now the ADL was going to pay more attention to what was going on here. And they were taking more of a striking look into the mannerisms of hip hop, in other words. So this is a good history lesson for you, because you get to see a lot of politics took place before this was resolved. And it started to change for the, I won't say the better or worse, but it showed people that the power of hip hop is incredible. And the reach of when they're not saying the message you want them to say and they're still getting to the people. And you can't control those masses. These guys got more control of the households than you do. That's going to scare people. People don't like being scared. They do things out of panic when they get scared. So anyway, I'm out. Shouts out to Kwame Brown, Bus Life. Welcome to HDII TV. Jack Sports with Jose Rodriguez. Armando Black TV, and I'm out.